Hello and welcome to Chabot News for October 2nd, 2025. My name is Lala D, and today we will be covering the latest Trump news, health updates, and the Mariachi Festival. In entertainment news, Gerardo will tell you about Jimmy Kimmel, and finally, in sports news, Bruce has the latest updates on the Ryder Cup controversy. All that and more coming up in today's edition of Chabot News. President Donald Trump strongly dismissed climate change in a speech to the United Nations General Assembly in New York Tuesday.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong.
Trump called the concept of the carbon footprint a hoax and said former President Barack Obama was hypocritical on the issue. President Trump also claimed green energy policies allow countries without restrictions to make money. Trump's words are at odds with the vast majority of climate scientists who have concluded climate change is happening, and that it is mainly caused by fossil fuel pollution. The House committee subpoenaed more information and files regarding the Jeffrey Epstein files. Additional information about the late Jeffrey Epstein has been handed to the House Oversight Committee. The Epstein estate, complying with a subpoena, turned over another batch of documents to officials. They include a spreadsheet of handwritten messages plus emails, flight logs, and cash transaction ledgers. The estate has asked the committee to hold back on releasing information to the public until a review of potential redactions can be made. Some high-profile Republicans, including President Donald Trump, have been pushing to prevent more information about the convicted sex offender from being released. The slow release of the Epstein files is frustrating Democrats, and it seems like there is something to hide as President Trump requests that no more Epstein files are to be released. President Donald Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today. Following their sit-down meeting, Trump said they were, quote, beyond very close to a peace deal in Gaza. This comes as Israel has grown increasingly isolated on the world stage due to backlash over the war. Correspondent Julia Benbrock has the key takeaways from today's meeting.
Ahead of this visit, the Trump administration voiced optimism about resolving the conflict. Just a few days ago, President Donald Trump said that he believed they were, quote, very close to a deal. And a few days before that, his envoy said that a breakthrough was possible. Trump welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House on Monday to discuss a potential Gaza peace plan. The two held a bilateral meeting followed by a joint press conference.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza.
The Trump administration is pushing a 20-point Gaza peace plan that calls for all hostages held by Hamas to be released within 72 hours of an agreement and sets out a roadmap for Gaza once the war ends.
If Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
The plan does not indicate the U.S. would support the creation of a Palestinian state, but recognizes it as an aspiration of the Palestinians. In recent days, several countries, including the UK, France, and Canada, have formally recognized a Palestinian state. Trump has said that he believes that move is counterproductive, and Netanyahu has made it clear he strongly opposes that idea. At the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Thank you for that clarifying report, Julia. While the plan has the support of many Arab, Middle Eastern countries, it is still uncertain if Hamas will agree to it, as it requires the release of all hostages before implementation. Since Hamas considers this their only bargaining chip, it may be difficult for them to accept it. May also be difficult to get the support of Hamas and the Palestinian Authority to fully back the plan if there is no agreement to a two-state solution. Keeping it as aspirational is continue as the status quo and may not be acceptable by the Palestinian people as a whole. Jasmine Crockett is one of the most exciting and brilliant politicians maybe of our time. An accomplished civil rights attorney from Texas, she puts fear in lawyers who are not prepared to face her. Congresswoman Crockett comments on President Trump's push to prosecute those who prosecuted him, and divisive remarks from Charlie Kirk made. Let's look at the CNN video.
When we see the consolidation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it. Like, these are the facts. But one of the things that I've never done that the president has done consistently is called specifically for violence. He has said, oh, beat that one up. He has said those types of things. We know that Charlie Kirk was saying things about who should live and who should die.
Congresswoman Crockett goes on to talk about the accountability that is needed when leaders like Donald Trump and powerful figures like Charlie Kirk make comments that divide people and cause the United States harm. Jasmine Crockett said that has the potential of putting us in harm's way. The Bay Area Backyard Movement hosted a vibrant mariachi festival on Saturday, September 27th. In Hayward at Southland Mall, drawing thousands from across the Bay Area, the event featured world-class mariachi performances, authentic Mexican food, artisan vendors, lucha libre, and cultural activities for families, with limited spots for vendors and nonprofits focused on cultural education. The festival celebrated diversity and community while honoring Mexico's rich musical traditions. Now we go to Gerardo for more entertainment news.
Thanks, Lala D. The biggest story this week is Jimmy Kimmel has his show back, and he used his return to defend free speech. The return episode marks the end of his suspension, but it might be the beginning of a larger clash between ABC and the Trump administration. Amy Kiley has more.
Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted.
Jimmy Kimmel Live is back after a nearly week-long suspension. Disney says it objected to the host's comments after Charlie Kirk's murder. Kimmel addresses that in his return monologue.
I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever.
Kimmel's also defending free speech with humor.
The guy in Germany offered me a job. Can you imagine? This country has become so authoritarian, the Germans are like, come here.
Some repeat audience members say this taping felt different.
There was a gravity, but also happiness of just being back.
Disney says it lifted the suspension after, quote, thoughtful conversations with Jimmy. Critics claim it originally caved to President Donald Trump. He says Kimmel's return on ABC, quote, puts the network in jeopardy. He adds, quote, we're going to test ABC out on this. Sinclair and Nexstar Media are continuing to preempt the show on their stations. The FCC chair applauds them for what he calls standing up to a national programmer. The preemptions are a financial hit for Disney. Some analysts say a boycott from Kimmel fans would have been worse.
Money was the impetus for the first decision and pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air, and money is the impetus for returning him.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Thanks, Amy. It's great to see Jimmy Kimmel live again. Trump's post also suggests he'll extract a financial price for Kimmel's return. He writes, quote, last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. We will see what is to come. I'm Gerardo. Now back to Lala D with more Chabot News.
Thanks, Gerardo. It sounds like something out of a horror movie. The larva of a type of fly nests in the wounds of warm-blooded animals, including humans, and slowly eats them alive. Even the name can make your skin crawl. New World screwworm, and the latest case of the flesh-eating parasite was just detected in a cow less than 70 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. Valeria Leon is in Mexico City with more on what this means.
The last time Mexican rancher Fidel Gutierrez watched one of his animals die from screwworm was 30 years ago. Now the flesh-eating parasite is back with a vengeance.
We've watched the screwworm wipe out everything.
The parasite first reappeared in November from Guatemala. Now it's devastating cattle herds in the southern Mexican state of Chiapas, and the U.S. closed its border to cattle exports in May. Most cases remain in the south, but this week a parasite was discovered in the northern state of Nuevo León, just 17 miles from the U.S. border.
An outbreak of the New World screwworm in the state of Texas is estimated to cost U.S. livestock producers approximately $1 billion.
With pressure mounting from the U.S. to control the infestation, Mexico is blaming illegal cattle crossings along its remote southern border.
They come in through the area of Benemérito de las Américas.
In the town of Benemérito de las Américas, the economy depends largely on smuggling livestock. This is one of the illegal cattle crossings from Central America to Mexico. Smugglers use this spot hidden in the jungle along the Sumacinta River on the Mexico-Guatemala border to slip cows into Mexico every day. The U.S. and Mexico signed emergency measures in September to quell the crisis and eventually reopen the border to Mexican cattle. In Chiapas, Mexico, I'm Valeria León.
Thank you for that informative report, Valeria. The U.S. suffered New World screwworm infestations in the 1950s and 1970s with the loss of $132 million annually to the infestation. In today's dollars, that would equal about $1 billion. The seriousness of the threat cannot be understated. Currently, the cattle industry is encountering difficult times with the economy, and an infestation could easily multiply those losses. This could result in the loss of many ranches, especially in Texas. President Trump made an announcement from the Oval Office about autism. September 22nd, the president, backed by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., saying that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration will be notifying physicians that the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy can be linked to increased risk of autism. This despite decades of evidence that it's safe. Ivan Rodriguez breaks down the September 22nd announcement.
Don't take it. Don't take it.
President Donald Trump strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy.
The use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Trump announced Monday that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration will be notifying physicians that the use of acetaminophen during pregnancy, quote, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. Tylenol maker Kenvue said earlier this month it had engaged in a scientific exchange on the issue with U.S. Department of Health and Human Services officials. In a statement, the company says acetaminophen is the safest pain reliever option for pregnant women as needed throughout their entire pregnancy.
First of all, I'm worried that some women might end up taking ibuprofen, for which we know there are real risks.
According to a U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report published in April, the incidence of autism is on the rise, which one expert says is primarily due to a broadening of the definition and push for better screening in children. About 1 in every 31 children was diagnosed with autism by age 8 in 2022, up from 1 in 36 in 2020. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Several studies have looked at the association between acetaminophen use in pregnancy and the development of autism in children, but experts say the science behind this theory is not settled. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has previously promoted debunked theories linking vaccines to autism, and he pledged in April that his agency would have answers this month on the causes of autism. Lumen Field in Seattle is scheduled to host 6 World Cup games next summer, attracting hundreds of thousands of people from all around the world. But President Trump says that could change if he doesn't think the city is safe enough. Brady Wakayama reports.
I think it's not safe. We're going to move it out of that city.
That's President Trump's plan if he believes a city selected to host a FIFA World Cup game isn't safe enough. During this Thursday press conference, a reporter asked the president his thoughts specifically about 2 democratically led host cities, Seattle and San Francisco.
Could those games move if they don't cooperate with your crime?
Well, that's an interesting, I guess, but we're going to make sure they're safe. They're run by radical left lunatics and that don't know what they're doing.
As the presser went on, the president did say he hopes that he doesn't have to move host cities. However, it's unclear if he has any authority to make that decision.
I don't believe he does, but nowadays, who knows what's going to happen.
We spoke with the owner of George and Dragon, a longtime soccer bar in Seattle's Fremont neighborhood. He's frustrated by the president's comments.
Businesses are already uncertain. We're having a tough time as we are right now. It feels like it's just somebody throwing just more wood on the fire of uncertainty and how do you get through to next World Cup, much less get through the World Cup.
He's not the only one sounding off on the president's comments. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell said in a statement, President Trump continues to display his ignorance about our city. We're doing the hard work to prepare for this once-in-a-generation opportunity to welcome the world to Seattle. According to Mayor Harrell, violent crime in Seattle is down 20%, and the city has hired nearly 130 new officers this year. Meanwhile, a spokesperson with Seattle FIFA World Cup 26 sent King 5 this statement saying in part, they are confident in our planning and coordination in advance of next summer's matches.
Thank you for that insightful report, Brady. Moving the locations of World Cup rounds from major U.S. cities would not only be detrimental to those cities' economies, but also cause major travel disruptions for individuals trying to spectate the games. Hopefully, better minds will find better solutions to any concerns related to the tourist and spectator safety. For more sports news, we go to Bruce for the latest.
Thanks, Lolity. Passion is part of what makes the Ryder Cup so unique. But this year's event is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. On Saturday, the event's MC was recorded leading a crowd chant against McIlroy, which included expletives that drew immediate backlash and later led to her resignation. Throughout the afternoon, McIlroy faced repeated heckling, with fans interrupting him even in mid-swing. At one point, he was forced to tell the crowd to shut the F up. Let's listen to what the team leaders had to say.
What I consider crossing line is personal insults and making sounds, when they're trying to hit on their backswings or, very close to when they're trying to go into their routines. That did happen a little bit. It's happened to other Ryder Cups too.
You're always going to have a few people that cross the line, and that's unfortunate. I really was happy to see our players trying to quiet down some people that were like that, but part of it is our fault. We're not playing up to the standards that they want to see, and they're angry, and they should be.
European captain Luke Donald later said American fans had crossed the line, citing personal insults and disruptions that interfered with play. Despite the distractions, Europe kept its composure and continued to dominate the match. Should golf tighten its rules on crowd conduct, or is this simply part of the Ryder Cup's intensity? Either way, this year's event will be remembered as much for the controversy as for the competition. A frightening moment on the diamond, Guardians hitter David Fry was struck in the face by a pitch during Tuesday's game in Detroit. In the bottom of the sixth, Fry squared up to bunt with runners on, and a 99-mile-an-hour fastball from Tigers' Tarek Skubal caught him instead of the bat. He collapsed in the box as trainers rushed in. The pitch was ruled a foul ball, but the damage was real. Fry was conscious and later carted off the field. Medical scans revealed he sustained multiple facial and nasal fractures, though fortunately none requiring surgery. He was released from the hospital and is expected to recover over the next 6 to 8 weeks. A visibly shaken Skubal later visited Fry in the hospital, calling it a cruel fluke and expressing well wishes. Returning to the field, Cleveland rallied. The game wound up a 5-2 Guardians win. I'm Bruce. Now back to Lala D for more Chabot News.
Thanks, Bruce. A 13-year-old Rochester girl reported missing earlier this week has been found safe thanks to quick action by U.S. Marshals and federal agents. Investigators say surveillance video on social media played a key role in the case.
U.S. Marshal Charles Salina with the Western District of New York says when they first got the case on Tuesday of a missing 13-year-old Rochester girl, surveillance video was key, showing the girl getting into a vehicle.
We determined, it was our belief, that one of the occupants of that vehicle was an 18-year-old male, and ICE determined who he was.
Authorities say that young man in the SUV was identified as being in the U.S. illegally and driving here from Chicago. The marshals here began working with federal officials in the Windy City.
Dropped everything they were doing. They made it a priority. They came up with a couple of good locations that they were focusing on and narrowed it down to a specific location Saturday morning.
The 18-year-old was taken into custody along with his 49-year-old father, who Salina says was also here illegally, also inside the apartment.
There was actually another minor girl in the apartment as well.
A 15-year-old. Both suspects are now in ICE custody in Chicago. Salina warning parents the suspects made the connection to the girl in Rochester through social media.
Parents just got to get into their kids' business, know who your child is communicating with, know the passwords to their cell phones, tablets.
Salina says this is the 11th missing child from the Rochester area they have helped law enforcement safely recover in recent months.
Keeping our children safe is just so hugely important to the U.S. Marshals Service and to all of law enforcement.
2 suspects are now in federal custody in Chicago, and authorities are reminding parents to monitor their children's online activity as these cases continue to rise. And finally, this week, a trip to the grocery store turned into a rescue mission after one shopper spotted a rare lobster in a supermarket tank. What experts say is a 1 in 30 million discovery is now getting a second chance at life.
This rare discovery, a 1 in 30 million find, according to the New York Aquarium, part of the Wildlife Conservation Society. Kyle Brancato stumbled upon it while shopping at the Tops on Jefferson Road.
Walked by the lobster tank and I saw this bright orange lobster, very different from all the other ones in the tank.
Brancato knew he was looking at something special, and he decided to save it.
I think the only reason it was still in the tank was people probably thought it had a disease or something because it looked so different. And nobody purchased it.
Without experience caring for lobsters, he had to figure out how to keep it alive until help arrived.
I borrowed some tank water from Palmer's down the road, and that bought me enough time to go to Petco, pick up a 20-gallon tank, and I got 20 gallons of seawater that they sell in the store in boxes. And I emptied it into the tank, cooled it down to the proper temperature, and I contacted an organization out of Long Island to rehabilitate it and bring it back to the ocean.
Volunteers from Humane Long Island agreeing to transport the animal several hours away.
We're going to acclimate him again over a period of probably about an hour, and then make sure that he's using his claws appropriately, make sure that he's foraging and swimming, and he's ready to go.
After several stops to check his safety along the way, the lobster arriving in Long Island appearing healthy late Sunday evening.
But he's using his claws. This is the kind of reaction we want to see out of them. See, he's raising that claw up at me, in a little bit of a threatening manner. That means he's doing well.
Chance at life. The bright orange lobster is now in the care of conservationists on Long Island, where it's expected to live out its days safely back in the ocean. That's all for Chabot News this week. Thanks to all the students and staff in the Mass Communications Department here at Chabot College for making this production possible. You can watch us anytime online at youtube.com/Chabot TV. Stay tuned to KCTH Channel 27 on Comcast for more Chabot TV.